There are some new details coming out right now on how Suge Knight, one of the darkest and most sinister personas of hip-hop, influenced the downfall of Tupac and his music career. Most know Suge for his troubled legal history. He also made significant contributions to the music scene. He couldn't help but spread his vicious ways of intimidation, violence, and desire for control to others around him, such as Tupac. This is exactly how he did it, and what his real motives were. To understand exactly how this shift in Tupac happened, we need to provide some context first. Let's go back to a major moment that made a rap rivalry between the West and East Coasts even more heated. In 1995, Suge Knight, the CEO of Death Row Records, attended the Source Awards in New York City. He saw this as the perfect opportunity to diss Diddy, although he didn't mention him by name. Suge Knight took the stage to grab the award for Motion Picture Soundtrack of the Year, which he won alongside Danny Boy for their work on Above the Rim soundtrack. Boy, did Suge use that moment to throw some serious shade. He boldly declared,
"I'd like to tell Tupac keep his guards up, we ride with him. And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing, come to Death Row."
It was a direct hit aimed at Puff Daddy for his collaboration with the notorious B.I.G. Suge made fun of Diddy for adding his own background comments in bad boy artist songs and for his excessive dancing in their music videos. To be fair, Suge's joke had some truth to it, but looking back, it probably would have been better left unsaid. It didn't help matters that Snoop Dogg also called out the East Coast while Dr. Dre was accepting his award for Producer of the Year, saying, "You guys don't love us? Well then let it be known." But let's leave that out the story for now. In the following month, on September 23, 1995, there was a real messed up incident. A guy named Jake Robles, known as Big Jake, who was part of the Campanella Park Pyro gang and worked with Death Row Records, got shot. This happened when he and Suge were leaving the Platinum Club in Atlanta after partying with Jermaine Dupri. Poor Jake fought for his life in Atlanta hospital for a couple weeks, but sadly, he couldn't make it and succumbed to his injuries. Now there's this dude named Anthony Wolf Jones, supposedly connected to Bad Boy Records, who's been suspected of being the main suspect in the whole thing. Jones himself ended up getting killed outside a different nightclub in Atlanta about 10 years later. But what's even more messed up is that Suge Knight apparently blamed Puffy indirectly for Jake's murder. Things were getting seriously intense and personal between these dudes. To make matters even more complicated, many suggested that Big Jake was not just another Death Row employee, but a very, very close friend to Suge Knight. Some even considered them inseparable. It was never proven to be fact that Wolf took Jake's life. In fact, Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, came out clean and told us in an interview that Wolf did not do it. It was another guy called Jason who did it. Regardless, for Suge Knight, Tupac, and the rest of the Death Row squad, it was Wolf, and by extension, Puff Diddy, who were responsible for taking out his best friend, Big J. He wanted revenge, and his hate was so strong that even Tupac felt it. So it's December 15th, 1995, just 3 months after Big J got shot in Atlanta. Death Row Records is throwing a Christmas party at a fancy house in the Hollywood Hills. Now, there's this dude named Mark Anthony Bell, a record promoter from New York who went to high school with Puffy. This guy wants to go to the party because he used to work with different record companies and had some history with Death Row, like around 30 times or so. Alright, here's the deal. Bell's buddy got hired as a photographer for the party, and Bell really wants to tag along. Problem is, he doesn't have a ticket. So they both go down to Death Row's offices in the afternoon of the party, and Suge's assistant either gives Bell a ticket or says it won't be a problem for him to get in without one. Why? Because during his previous visit to LA, just a few weeks after Jake Robles died, Bell had this weird encounter in the lobby of the same Death Row building. He had gone to meet them about work, and as he was leaving, a Death Row employee handed him a note. The note was asking him to spill any info on Puffy, his family, or his crew. It even told him to write his reply on the note and drop it on the floor. Bell, being the smart guy he is, refused to do that. At the party, Suge Knight rolls in with his crew, and as Suge is making his way around, he spots Bell and confronts him about why he didn't cooperate earlier, referring to the note incident from weeks ago at Death Row's offices. Suge tells him, "You didn't want to play nice. and he says he's a man of his word who follows through. But Bell stands his ground and tells Suge that he don't know squat and has no info about where Puffy hangs out. Bell tells Suge Knight that anyone can easily get Puffy's phone number from his office in New York and give him a call. Suge was not happy with that response. He tells Bell to come upstairs so they can continue their little chat. And guess what? Bell, being a bit foolish, follows Suge upstairs like it's no big deal and ends up in the VIP room. Now, Suge gets his brother-in-law, Norris Anderson, to clear out the VIP room and stand guard outside the door. So it's just Suge, Pac, Dr. Dre, and some other dude with gold teeth whose name we don't even know. They set up a chair right in the middle of the room, and Suge tells Bell to take a seat while he sits right in front of him. Suge starts interrogating Bell about Puffy, asking why the hell he didn't cooperate earlier. And Bell, he ain't trying to get involved in all this mess. He tells Suge he don't want any part of it. But Suge keeps pushing him, asking about Puffy's parents, where his mama lives, and where his damn office is. Now, here's where it gets messed up. Bell claims that Tupac would whisper stuff into Suge's ear, and Suge would ask more questions based on what Pac told him. It was like Tupac's feeding Suge's questions during this whole interrogation. And to make things worse, this unnamed gold teeth dude decides to join in by smacking Bell on the side of the face. He says it's for the person who died, probably referring to Big Jake. He even tells Bell, "We're gonna kill you." And they start beating Bell with their fists and even champagne bottles. Suge straight up tells Bell that he's gonna have to deliver Puffy. And Tupac accuses Bell of lying about not knowing where Puffy's at. Now, here comes the most absurd twist, and probably the craziest Suge Knight story ever. Suge goes into a damn bathroom and comes out holding a glass that Bell swears is filled with freaking piss. And you won't believe it, but Suge hands that glass of piss over to Bell. And just when Bell is about to drink it, Gold Teeth smacks Bell again, making him drop the glass. And that's when Bell tries to make a run for it. He runs towards the nearest balcony, hoping he can jump off or catch someone's attention. But before he can do anything, Suge and Tupac grab the man, trying to stop him from going over the railing. It takes them all about 30 seconds of hitting his hands and break his grip, but luckily, he doesn't make it over. Downstairs, Bell's friend, the photographer, sees him spread out on the balcony, and he thinks he sees Tupac making stabbing motions at Bell. As they drag him back inside the room, Tupac's hitting Bell on the neck. Bell's friend realizes that his buddy's life is in some serious danger, so he drives down the hill to find some police officers, and he tells them that Suge is up on the hill trying to squeeze his friend for information and that he's scared his friend's getting stabbed. The cops don't waste any time and run up the hill to check it out. Meanwhile, back in the VIP room, things are escalating real quick. It turns on to a full-on beatdown, with everyone taking turns hitting and kicking and throwing stuff at Bell. Suge supposedly says, "Only body blows." This is why people online write things like, Suge Knight has to be one of the greatest villains of all time. Darth Vader, Joker, etc., etc. Suge is up there. In the very end, while Bell is lying on the ground, the guys take his watch off, his gold chain, his wallet, and they even thought about snatching his diamond earring. To show how sneaky Suge was, he offered him later to join the ranks, even if Bell didn't know anything about Diddy's whereabouts. He told him he would make him richer than Diddy ever could. And interestingly enough, Suge never denied this story happening himself. In fact, he confirmed it, and he even bragged about it and the fact the charges were never pressed against him, only against other death row members.
He comes to the death row Christmas party, everybody check him and grab him, like, bam, you and Puffy's real tight, right? See, that's my man. So he later on, Suge said that we was trying to get the address on where Puffy's mama lived at and so on. He said he got the shit beat out of him, right? And he said he drunk about 35 champagne-sized piss. Now, in the lawsuit, he said that all the death row guys, made him drink all the piss.
Suge Knight's influence on Tupac appears to have had a significant impact on his behavior, escalating his level of violence and ultimately putting his life in danger. Suge's presence and actions at the Death Row Records Christmas party demonstrate a manipulative and aggressive side. He uses his authority to intimidate and interrogate this NY promoter, and his questioning is fueled by a desire for retaliation and a thirst for control. During this confrontation, Tupac seems to be acting as an accomplice to Suge. Pac whispers in Suge's ear, giving him more ideas and fully participating in the interrogation, not to mention beating him up when Bell tried to make a run for it. Ultimately, Suge's action reflected on those around him too, and this is what got Pac in danger too. Being around Suge is what messed up his career, and it's what led to his tragic death. Peer pressure is a scary thing, as Kendrick Lamar warned us about so many times. Those dudes must have been real scary around death row. I would have caught an M charge for sure if I was around that environment. Grown men punking grown men, like, that is ridiculous. Nobody did anything. Bunch of scary men. In the end, Pac getting involved in the way that he did may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. People online definitely agree. Looks like Suge was used as a pawn and didn't even realize it. I think the inclusion of Tupac created an unwanted power team, and both had to be brought down. But what's y'all's take on this situation? Did Pac become a menace just by being around Suge? Let us know what you think down in the comments section. And if you like this video, click that like, subscribe, and share button. And as always, remember to keep it RIZZLE.